The universe, vast and mysterious, has always captivated human imagination. Yet perhaps no frontier remains more enigmatic than what awaits us after death. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest scientific minds of our era, approached this question not with religious conviction, but with the precision of theoretical physics. "I regard the brain as a computer which will stop working when its components fail," Hawking once remarked. "There is no heaven or afterlife for broken-down computers. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark." These words, direct and uncompromising, reveal Hawking's materialist view of consciousness. But is this truly where his exploration ended? Throughout his remarkable life, Hawking continually revised his theories as new evidence emerged. His journey with mortality began long before most diagnosed with ALS at 21 and given just 2 years to live. He instead survived for over 5 decades, redefining our understanding of time, space, and existence along the way. What's particularly fascinating is how Hawking's views on death evolved alongside his groundbreaking work on black holes and the nature of time itself. Initially believing information was permanently lost in black holes, he later recanted this view. Could this same evolution have occurred in his thinking about consciousness after death? In this exploration, we'll journey through Hawking's scientific legacy to understand how his theories might illuminate what happens when we die. Not through mysticism or faith, but through the lens of quantum mechanics, information theory, and the fundamental laws that govern our universe. The answers may surprise you and change how you view your own mortality. Time, according to Stephen Hawking, is not the linear progression we experience day to day. In his groundbreaking work, A Brief History of Time, Hawking explored how time behaves differently at the quantum level and near massive objects like black holes. "Imaginary time is a concept that I find far more useful than you might imagine," Hawking wrote. "This seemingly abstract idea forms the foundation for understanding what might happen when we die. But what exactly is imaginary time? Unlike our conventional understanding of time moving forward like an arrow, imaginary time exists as another dimension. Think of it as moving perpendicular to regular time, not forward or backward, but in an entirely different direction." This concept helped Hawking resolve paradoxes in quantum mechanics and general relativity. The implications for death are profound. If our consciousness exists within the framework of spacetime, what happens when our biological processes cease? Does our experience of time simply end, or might it transform into something else entirely? Hawking's work on the no-boundary proposal suggests our universe doesn't have a definitive beginning or edge. Similarly, perhaps consciousness doesn't simply terminate at death but transforms in ways our living minds cannot comprehend. "When we die, we return to dust," Hawking stated plainly. Yet his theories suggest something more nuanced, that information, like energy, cannot be destroyed, can only change form. This conservation principle lies at the heart of modern physics and might apply to whatever constitutes our conscious experience. What's remarkable is how Hawking's view challenges both religious concepts of an afterlife and strict materialist views of consciousness simply shutting off. Instead, his work points to a transformation governed by the same laws that shape black holes, quantum particles, and the cosmos itself. Stephen Hawking's greatest contribution to theoretical physics might hold the key to understanding consciousness after death. His work on the black hole information paradox forced scientists to reconsider fundamental assumptions about information in our universe. Initially, Hawking proposed that information falling into black holes was permanently lost, effectively destroyed. This violated quantum mechanics' principle that information cannot be destroyed. After decades of debate, Hawking conceded in 2004 that information must somehow be preserved. "Information is not lost, but it's not retrievable in a practical sense," Hawking explained. "The information becomes encoded on the black hole's event horizon, fundamentally transformed but not erased." This resolution has striking parallels to death. If our consciousness represents a specific configuration of information, then what happens when our physical form ceases to function? According to Hawking's revised understanding of information conservation, it cannot simply vanish. Quantum mechanics offers another intriguing possibility through entanglement, what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. Particles that become entangled remain connected regardless of distance. Similarly, might our consciousness maintain connections beyond physical death through quantum entanglement? Hawking himself was skeptical of such extrapolations, warning against using quantum mechanics to justify spiritual beliefs. Yet his own work demonstrated how initial certainties often give way to more nuanced understandings. My expectations have been reduced to zero, Hawking once quipped about death. Anything beyond that is a bonus. Yet his scientific legacy suggests a more complex possibility, that consciousness, like information in physics, might be conserved and transformed rather than extinguished. The quantum nature of reality suggests our understanding of death as an absolute end might be as outdated as Newtonian physics in the quantum realm. Just as light can behave as both particle and wave, perhaps consciousness exists in states beyond our conventional understanding of life and death. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, all possible alternate histories and futures are real, Stephen Hawking wrote in The Grand Design. This striking concept suggests our universe is just one of many, perhaps infinite, parallel realities where different versions of ourselves exist. This multiverse theory, which Hawking cautiously supported, raises profound questions about death and consciousness. If infinite parallel universes exist, then versions of you continue to exist even after your death in this particular reality. Hawking explained it this way: quantum mechanics predicts a number of different possible outcomes. Each of these possible outcomes corresponds to a different universe. Some theoretical physicists argue this means consciousness might effectively be immortal across the multiverse, even if it ceases in one particular branch. While Hawking maintained skepticism about consciousness surviving in our universe, he acknowledged that quantum physics reveals reality to be stranger than we imagine. The multiverse theory doesn't promise a traditional afterlife but suggests a form of continuity beyond what we conventionally understand as death. This perspective challenges both religious and materialist views of death. Rather than either eternal paradise or complete oblivion, multiverse theory suggests our existence branches endlessly, with consciousness persisting in some form across infinite realities. We are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star, Hawking stated. But we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special. This understanding now extends to possibilities that once seemed purely metaphysical. What's fascinating is how Hawking's scientific work on parallel universes inadvertently addresses humanity's oldest question about what happens after death. While not offering comfort in the traditional sense, it suggests a kind of immortality woven into the fabric of reality itself, not through divine intervention, but through the fundamental nature of quantum mechanics. This perspective doesn't require belief in a soul or supernatural realm, yet still challenges the notion that death represents a complete end to existence. One of Hawking's most mind-bending contributions came through his work on the holographic principle, developed alongside colleagues like Leonard Susskind. This revolutionary concept suggests that all the information contained in a volume of space can be represented on its boundary, like a 3D image encoded on a 2D surface. The boundary of a boundary is zero, Hawking would say, referencing the mathematical principle that underpins this theory. Applied to human existence, this has profound implications for what happens when we die. If reality itself is fundamentally information, and if this information is preserved, as Hawking's revised black hole theories suggest, then what we call consciousness might be understood as a specific information pattern. Death would transform this pattern, not erase it. The holographic principle offers a scientific framework that parallels ancient philosophical concepts. Eastern traditions have long described reality as illusory, with consciousness as the fundamental substrate. Western mysticism speaks of death as transformation rather than termination. Hawking's work provides a theoretical physics perspective that resonates with these intuitions. We are just a slightly advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet orbiting an average star, Hawking noted. But we've been able to understand the universe, and that makes us very special. This understanding now extends to seeing ourselves as information patterns in a holographic universe. What's particularly fascinating is how this view bridges the apparent gap between materialist and spiritual perspectives. It doesn't require belief in supernatural realms, yet suggests consciousness might transcend the physical brain in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. Hawking himself remained cautious about such extrapolations, maintaining his view that brain death meant the end of personal experience. Yet his own scientific work continued to reveal a universe far stranger and more interconnected than common sense suggests, where information, rather than matter, might be the fundamental reality. This perspective transforms how we might understand death, not as oblivion, but as a phased transition in which information is conserved and transformed, similar to how matter and energy change states but are never truly destroyed. Perhaps Hawking's most celebrated discovery was Hawking radiation, the theoretical prediction that black holes aren't entirely black but emit radiation and eventually evaporate. This revolutionary concept demonstrated that even black holes, once thought to be cosmic endpoints, undergo transformation rather than representing absolute endings. "Black holes ain't as black as they are painted," Hawking famously quipped. "They are not the eternal prisons they were once thought to be." This discovery carries profound implications for understanding death. Just as black holes eventually release their energy back into the universe in transformed states, perhaps consciousness undergoes similar transformation rather than extinction. While Hawking maintained that individual identity doesn't survive this process, his work reveals nature's pattern of conservation and transformation rather than creation and destruction. The mathematics behind Hawking radiation involve quantum field theory at curved space-time boundaries, the precise intersection where our understanding of reality becomes most mysterious. Similarly, death represents the boundary where consciousness meets its apparent end, yet perhaps undergoes transformation instead. "Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change," Hawking once said. Perhaps death represents the ultimate adaptation, a transformation we cannot comprehend from our current perspective, just as radiation from black holes would be incomprehensible from within the black hole itself. What makes this especially intriguing is how Hawking's scientific work repeatedly revealed processes of transformation rather than termination. From matter falling into black holes, to information encoded on event horizons, to radiation eventually emerging, the pattern suggests cycles of transformation rather than absolute endings. Hawking himself would warn against overextending scientific theories into metaphysical realms. Yet his own discoveries continually pushed back against simplistic understandings of endings and beginnings in nature. "My goal is simple," Hawking said. "It is a complete understanding of the universe, why it is as it is and why it exists at all." This understanding now extends to seeing death not necessarily as annihilation, but potentially as transformation, governed by the same physical laws that regulate black holes, quantum particles, and cosmic evolution. Among Hawking's most thought-provoking contributions was his work on non-locality in quantum systems, the bizarre reality that particles can instantaneously affect each other regardless of distance. This property, which Einstein called spooky action at a distance, suggests reality isn't bound by conventional limitations of space and time. When quantum mechanics is applied to the entire universe, Hawking wrote, "Something remarkable happens. That something is a universe where locality, our intuitive sense that things only affect nearby things, breaks down at the fundamental level. This non-locality has profound implications for consciousness after death. If consciousness participates in quantum non-locality, it might not be confined to the brain or even to conventional spacetime." While Hawking remained skeptical about such extensions of physics into consciousness studies, his work revealed a universe where connections transcend our everyday understanding of separation. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates how observation affects quantum particles, suggesting a mysterious relationship between consciousness and physical reality. Hawking acknowledged these puzzles while cautioning against mystical interpretations. "The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance," Hawking stated. "It is the illusion of knowledge." Perhaps our certainty about death as a final end represents such an illusion, based on classical understanding in a quantum reality. What's particularly fascinating is how quantum non-locality challenges our understanding of separateness itself. If particles maintain instantaneous connections across vast distances, perhaps consciousness isn't as localized to individual brains as we assume. Death might then represent not an ending but a phased transition into non-local existence. Hawking's own theories evolved dramatically throughout his lifetime. From believing information was destroyed in black holes to recognizing it must be preserved, his scientific journey demonstrated how initial certainties often give way to more nuanced understanding. while maintaining scientific skepticism about traditional afterlife concepts. Hawking's work repeatedly revealed a universe operating beyond common-sense expectations, where time, space, and information behave in ways that challenge our most basic assumptions about beginnings and endings. While Hawking himself never endorsed the omega point theory, his work on the ultimate fate of the universe intersects with this fascinating concept developed by physicist Frank Tipler, the idea that evolution of intelligence might continue indefinitely, eventually reaching a state of cosmic consciousness as the universe approaches its end. We are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star, Hawking noted. But we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special. This capacity for understanding might be just the beginning of consciousness evolution. Hawking's research on black holes and information conservation provides theoretical underpinning for how consciousness might persist through technological means. If information cannot be destroyed, only transformed, then encoding consciousness digitally represents not science fiction but a theoretical possibility governed by physics. While maintaining personal skepticism about traditional afterlife concepts, Hawking recognized the potential for intelligence to transcend biological limitations. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change, he said, and perhaps the ultimate adaptation is transcending death itself through technological means. What's particularly striking is how Hawking's own life embodied this transcendence. As his physical capabilities diminished, technology amplified his consciousness, allowing his mind to explore cosmos while his body remained confined to a wheelchair. His experience demonstrates how consciousness can expand beyond biological limitations. Hawking's work suggests the universe itself has properties conducive to consciousness. The fine-tuning of fundamental constants, the emergence of complexity from simplicity, and the capacity for matter to organize into self-reflecting intelligence all hint at a universe somehow oriented toward consciousness rather than against it. If aliens visited us, the outcome would be much as when Columbus landed in America, which didn't turn out well for the Native Americans, Hawking warned. This caution about superior intelligence reminds us that cosmic evolution doesn't guarantee benevolence, yet may still lead to forms of consciousness transcending our own. While Hawking maintained scientific skepticism throughout his life, his work opened theoretical pathways for understanding consciousness as information that might persist beyond biological death, either through technological means or through fundamental properties of information conservation in physics. Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet, Stephen Hawking advised in his final years. This perspective, focusing on the vast cosmos rather than immediate concerns, characterized his approach to existence, including the question of what follows death. Throughout his remarkable life, Hawking maintained that death likely represents the end of individual consciousness. I have lived with the prospect of an early death for the last 49 years, he reflected. I'm not afraid of death, but I'm in no hurry to die. I have so much I want to do first. Yet Hawking's scientific legacy reveals something more nuanced. His work consistently demonstrated how apparent endings often represent transformations instead. Black holes emit radiation. Information persists rather than vanishes. Time itself behaves differently at fundamental levels of reality. What emerges from Hawking's collective work is not certainty about an afterlife, but a profound recognition of how limited our understanding remains. The same humility that drove his scientific inquiry applies to questions of consciousness beyond death. Just as physics underwent revolutionary paradigm shifts in the 20th century, our understanding of consciousness and its relationship to physical reality may be equally primitive. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, Hawking reminded us. It is the illusion of knowledge. Perhaps our certainty about death, whether religious conviction in an afterlife or materialist confidence in oblivion, represents such an illusion. Hawking's ultimate legacy may be showing how science itself continues to reveal a reality stranger and more wondrous than we imagine, where time, space, information, and consciousness interconnect in ways our current frameworks barely comprehend. We are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star, Hawking observed. But we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special. This capacity for understanding extends to questioning our own existence and what might lie beyond what we call death. As we contemplate our own mortality, Hawking's perspective offers neither false comfort nor nihilistic despair, but something more valuable: intellectual honesty coupled with wonder at a universe whose mysteries continue to unfold, revealing reality to be far stranger and more marvelous than our ancestors ever imagined.